this is something I've said for a few weeks now, but I'm the blocker.
Right.
Like, it's me. I'm the issue.
Everybody on the planet has value and something to offer.
You can look at it and go, wow, I'm nowhere close to that. But you can look at it like, wow, that's where I want to be one day. Welcome back to the Growth Over Comfort podcast. I am Randy Anderson, your co-host, co-hosted with Coach Steve Miller. How you doing today?
100% excited to be here.
Yeah.
Fired up about today.
Monday. Yeah.
It is Monday.
Get back in the studio. Things are looking a little different on your side.
Things are looking different on my side.
Yeah.
Things are happening different on your side.
Yeah.
Still looks basically the same over there, but
Yeah.
I think there's some interesting business stuff taking place.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening, and it feels like a lot, and it is a lot. But
Right.
at the same time, I got to tell you, I don't wish we had named our podcast anything different, but it makes me stay accountable to literally everyone. Because over the weekend, someone was like, have you heard his podcast? And I was literally talking about different things and
Right.
talking about, like, I don't know, stuff. And he was like, this guy said, no, what podcast? And she said, it's called Growth Over Comfort. It's really great. And I'm like, it is awesome. And anytime that I'm like, I'm not complaining, but anytime that I say anything and I'm like, oh, this, blah, 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 that, and someone will be like, where's the growth in that? You know, or someone will make a quip on it and be like, I know, I'm trying to grow.
I'm trying to grow.
Yeah. And so then, like, after she said that, we were about to leave their party and there was like all this stuff to clean up. And I looked around and was like, I'm going to help them clean up because that's where the growth is. So
Right.
anyway, point being, I love the name Growth Over Comfort because it holds me accountable to striving to be my best, right?
Well, and it's the level. We talked about this a little bit before we started this episode. Anytime you level up, and you've leveled up in the last 6 months like crazy. Like, this studio wasn't here. There were no employees, and you're in hiring mode.
Yeah.
You were transitioning out of something that you were very comfortable in, but also didn't like being in, and you're shifting away from that comfort zone, and you're leveling up at the same time, which causes a growth issue that's hard.
It is hard.
It's like the beginning of, working out. You can't sit down good. You can't walk down steps. Nothing feels right.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you're uncomfortable in that. And I don't know where it stops. I mean, I'm struggling with the end of it because I'm on the same side. There's areas in my life that are really changing and leveling up. And I know there's growth, but it's not comfortable.
Right.
It's not pleasant. And seeing some people, and I have some coaching clients now that they're like, one's like high level. And our conversation was, you get this and understand what this is and can help me through this. And I'm like, part of me is like, why in the world would they even talk to me about that? Because of the level they're on. But then the flip side of that is I've been doing this for 30 years. So I've watched people grow and move, and I've seen, obviously I was a high school coach, but in my high school coaching, I was a part of some elite athletes. I couldn't do what they could do, but I could coach them and help them do what they did better. Yeah. And all of those things are the same thing in your world. I mean, you're shifting and changing. So what's been the most uncomfortable thing? We've had a couple of episodes with guests, so we've had about 3 weeks that we've been outside of just me and you. What's been the most uncomfortable? What's caused that feeling to go, all right, I'm overwhelmed a little bit?
I think just the amount of work. Just because we've brought on, like, there's, in your shot, you can kind of see, actually in your shot, you only see two of them, which is funny because one of them is my other podcast, and then there's Growth Over Comfort. But in your shot, there's like a wall behind you, and it's got a list of like album art for different podcasts that we work on. Right. And we, two of them are actually fairly new, and the others are ones we've had for a little bit. But anyway, that and then the other clients as well, it's just, there's been a lot going on. And then on top of that, there's been other opportunities that have come along that are massive, and those haven't been seen through yet, but they're like in the, as far as like a client goes, I'm in like the wooing stages.
Oh yeah.
Where like
Yeah.
where it's kind of a dance where like we're trying to see if we want to work together. Maybe we want to work together. Things
What
are looking
level?
good. Yeah, exactly. So we're figuring that out. But I'm gonna be honest with you, like the level of work has been insane. I was talking with another business owner about this, and that if you put 8 hours in on your business, you're always going to fail, because if you have your own business and you only work 8 hours during normal hours that everyone else works, you're going to fall way behind.
Yeah.
And you've got to do way more than just that to stay afloat and to improve, to get better, to grow. So honestly, the amount of work has been harder, because I've always been someone that like things have come easy, natural. I don't want to say easy, but things have come natural to me.
Right.
Like I attempt something and I'm like, that worked and it worked well and I'm cool, I'm good. But like there's a point at which your natural talent just dries out and it's like, it doesn't matter. This is where the hard work starts, And I feel like that's where I'm at. Like the natural talent has gotten me so far and has connected me with the right people. And obviously God has blessed me with different things as well. But now I'm at the point where it's like, it's time to really dig in and work. And so that's been the hardest part, is the amount of work, and then also the amount of work and how that changes aspects of my life. Like I just being vulnerable and honest for a moment, my relationship with my wife is not where it needs to be in the last month, because I've been so focused in on this, And so it's like, I see it though. I see that and I recognize it, and it's like, okay, this can't go on. This has to change. And so I'm like, hey, I want to start dating you again. Let's go on a date. You want to go on a date? And, I'm going to be honest, I haven't set up that date yet, but I plan to set it up for this week so that it's like I can just have me and her time, just focused with a nice big fat juicy steak in the middle.
I love it.
And just, focus in and talk to each other. But anyway, those have been the challenges for me.
The biggest thing, and the thing I'm hearing in that from you, is that as you've grown, the fun's come out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And the grind has come into it.
Oh, yeah.
And you're realizing the systems that you had in place to do the fun and what you enjoyed are not the systems you need to expand and grow.
That's
so
exactly
it's about
right.
the systems. What are you changing? How are you working differently over the last 2 to 3 weeks to change?
Honestly, I'm looking at hiring more people, but within that, it doesn't matter if I hire more people if they don't know what to do. And so I'm realizing that this is something I've said for a few weeks now, but I'm the blocker.
Right.
Like, it's me. I'm the issue. And I think that's a Taylor Swift line. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway.
Hey.
We
We don't look like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
There's nothing Swifty about
No.
either one of us.
No.
So. But Taylor Swift's all right.
But so I'm learning that I need to create different systems that empower people to make the right decisions and do the right things, and just also ask for help, because oftentimes I am the type of person that's like, I'll just take it on. I'll just do it. When it's like, no, let's just ask someone for help. Let's ask to alleviate some burdens, and let's ask to be able to rely on those that you can trust,
Yeah.
So I'm hiring a few more people, which is fun and exciting. But beyond that, I'm documenting everything I currently do, because I feel like without documentation, things get lost. Like I can sit down and walk you through how I do what I do, but then whenever you get in there the next week to get in there and do it yourself, you're gonna be like, wait, what did he do here?
Yeah.
But if there's a video that says, hey, Steve, this is exactly what I do, follow my mouse, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's so much easier.
Yeah, for those computer guys and those editing guys that were coming on board, that if they can follow that, that's not a big deal to them. It's just a map.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of takes them through the process.
Yeah.
And I know that you're real big in your work's different. You're not using bots and that type of stuff. You're actually doing the work. You're putting the time in, which changes how videos look.
Yeah.
Which changes how it feels.
Yeah.
That makes it more marketable for the people that are your clients, and that's why you can charge a premium. That's why they come to you. Mm-hmm. That's why they care. I mean, because you care. Mm-hmm. It's important. You're not. There's cheat codes and everything.
Yeah.
And some of those are great, but you're not taking the easiest way just because it's the easy way. There's differences in that. So that's a big deal. One of the things for me over the last 3 weeks has been I've been overwhelmed with the amount of opportunity and my lack of growth on the level I'm on. Like I'm now dealing with a completely different set of people. Not that my people are not great people, but I'm talking about people that are professionals that do what they do on the level that professional athletes do what they do.
Yeah.
So they're getting up and grinding and working every day like a professional athlete on the stuff that I would like to do. And I'm getting up and working on that stuff for about an hour.
Yeah.
There's a difference. It's a huge difference. And the feel is different. And those guys have now taken me under their wing a little bit and started to show me what actually has to happen, how it actually has to work. And I'm sitting there going, to quote a great man sitting across from me, the amount of work is overwhelming. Yeah. It really is overwhelming. But I think there are people that are going to listen to this podcast that are out there going, man, I'm dealing with the same stuff. So as you're going through it, what's helped you through to this point right now? What do you think's allowing you to move? Because you're moving forward. Like you went, okay, I've got to hire some people.
Yeah.
You're interviewing people. You're bringing in quality people. You're doing those things. You're documenting things. You're paying attention. Outside of those things, what personally are you doing? What's happening for you personally? What's inward right now that you're fighting, that you're starting to win a little bit?
Honestly, I think it's just the fact that there is no other option. Well, I mean, just being honest, like, it's not that I burned the ships, but it's more like the ships left and I just went, see ya, ships, goodbye. And I'm still on the island like, yeah, we're going to make this work. Or on the new land, being like, we're going to make this work.
Yeah.
And I think things that aren't working for me right now is not getting enough sleep. I can tell you that, which I have not been. I've not been getting enough sleep. I've been staying up late, catching up on work, doing other things. Last night I got 9 hours.
There you go.
And the funny thing is like, I watched a Hermosi video and he was talking about when he first started his gym business. And he said that he just did everything because he didn't have enough money to hire employees. And so he just did everything. And he said that he was at a level of exhausted that he's never felt before. And it's like, I have people working with me and I still feel super exhausted. And he said this and he goes, it's a level of exhaustion in which one good night's sleep would not cut it to restore. And I'm like, that's what I feel like. And I'm sure it's not the same that he was at.
Right.
But it's similar in the aspect of like, there's a weight to all this. There's a weight when people work with you, when people expect things from you.
Right.
And when there's, new deals trying to go down and all this stuff, like it's a heavy weight. And then if you, like, I remember thinking one day, I'm just going to take a little bit of a break and I'm just going to chill for just like 30, 40 minutes while I eat lunch. This is because it was like, I need to eat lunch and I'm just going to chill and I'm going to watch a Hermosi video or something. And I've shared a similar story like this before, but like I learned later after taking that little break, and it's like, yeah, I know you need to take breaks every now and then. You need to take things to recharge. But I learned later that it's like, you pay for every second. One way or the other, like if we talked about this back when we first started. What did I do in the beginning? What did I miss out on that cost me something later? And I kind of feel like that now. I kind of feel like I am trying to pay more forward. I'm trying to get things done, but I do feel like it's costing me stuff. But let me try and get back to your original question. What is working now that wasn't working? I think realizing that I need to delegate more. I think realizing that I need to let things go. Because there's been like, as an example, there's been several edits that I wanted to have more control over, edits that I wanted to help push forward. And as I was like, no, I'll take care of this, I'll do this. And then what would happen is a week would go by and I hadn't done it. And it wasn't because it wasn't important to me, because it is important to me, but the issue is that other things, other squeaky wheels got in the way. And it's like, I realized if I keep this up, then I'm never going to get those things done. And not having them done to my 100%, having them done to like maybe 70% of what I would want to do is fine. And it's going to work, you know?
Yeah.
And even then, if one of my editors can edit it and get it to 70%, and then I can coach them to get it to 100%, that's better. That only might take, you know, what, an hour or two of my time versus me spending, you know, 10 hours on the edit.
Right.
So I think delegation is working, and I think that it will work in the future when I get more people on board and I'm able to show them what I'm doing. Because even like one person I interviewed with, and I was like, here's what I do, here's what I need you to do, could you do those things? And she was like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we can do that.
And I thought in my head, can you though? That's awesome. Really? And so then like I imagined a day in which I gave her those things and I no longer had to do them. And it's interesting because I've forgotten what that's like because I've got so many things, but that's exactly what my current editors are doing. Like
Right.
I can't imagine doing the work they're doing. It's too much. You know, there's two of them.
Yeah, and my dad used to talk about this all the time. I would go to work with him sometimes. When I go to work with him, he's like, you know, if you've got two people instead of one, you think it would just lessen the time by 50%. It doesn't. It lessens that time exponentially.
Yeah.
Because now you can do what you do and stay in your wheelhouse, and they can do what they do and stay in their wheelhouse, and you're not having to go over there and do their part.
Yep.
So you're just able to keep moving in that. My side has been just realizing the importance, and like you said, the weight of it. Like I'm transferring into a deal that will cause me, like if I mess up, executives lose jobs. You know, those type things.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about high level organizations, and you know, like, you know, the one that I'm coaching now is like the number 2 for a $10 million deal.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go right, if they continue to splinter and she continues to separate, then it's a major problem in that organization.
Yeah.
Everybody's replaceable, but you don't want to replace that one.
Yeah.
You don't want that one upset. You don't want that one going, hey, I need to leave because this is not working for me. You don't want any of that. So for me to be on the right page and leading and coaching the right way is weighty. It's heavy.
Yeah.
And then there's so many things. Like we're doing an event in October. We'll start promoting that. But October the 4th, you know, we're doing a major event in Nashville. And, you know, Kevin Elko's coming, who was Nick Saban's, you know, psychologist at Alabama and coach, you know, really handling the mindset of Alabama's football team the time that Nick Saban was there. So he's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he has 39 national championships under his belt, including the ones at Alabama, just a couple. Yeah, so he's been a part of champion after champion after champion after champion, just on mindset and how to talk to yourself. And, you know, we're putting that event on, but there's like 10 things that we have to do before anybody even knows that exist.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's work.
Yeah.
It's not magic. You don't just snap your fingers and it show up.
Right.
You know, so you're starting to do some stuff in that. I'm starting to ask some people like, hey, this is what we need. Is that your wheelhouse? Can you help? What does that cost? Because it's expensive. There's nothing cheap. If it looks cheap, it's cheap. If it looks like it should look, it costs something.
Yes, it does. Yeah, for sure. And I want to shift because we've talked a lot about my past few weeks. I want to shift and talk about yours because, like you just kind of led into, there's been a lot of growth, a ton of growth on your side.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten into your trip yet.
Right.
You know, I mean, you just got back from Seattle.
Yeah, we just got back from Seattle. We went to Mount Rainier, and that was really cool.
But we need to talk about why you went to Mount Rainier.
I went to Mount Rainier because the plan is to summit Mount Rainier next summer.
Yeah, it is.
So I wanted to go look at the mountain and go see the mountain. And
say
we
hi.
saw, say, hey,
Exchange
how you
numbers.
doing, mountain? And it was, I've seen some things in my life. It's the most awe-inspiring thing I've ever seen in person.
Yeah.
And Cindy and I were riding, and there was like a distant view. And she goes, is that the mountain? You know, we're all like, is that the mountain?
Right.
Is that the mountain? And we were kind of doing that. And then she's like, I think that's just low clouds. And then we realized that's Mount Rainier. And it's like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But then we get a scenic view of Mount Rainier, and it's literally awe-inspiring, just the size and scope of what that is. I met one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. I'm a little restaurant there, and I'm reading all of this stuff about this Sherpa, and he had summited Mount Everest 15 times. All of the major peaks he had done at least one time. He had summited Mount Rainier 95 times.
95 times.
95 times. I'm talking about getting in shape, taking a year to get in shape to do it. He's like going up there like he's going to the mall.
But we need to also say how many times on Everest?
15.
15.
He holds the world record for the fastest ascent to the summit of Mount Everest, and he did it in under 11 hours. Typically, it's 3 to 4 weeks to climb.
How did he get up there that quick?
I have no answers. I have no answers. So listen, I'm sitting there, and I look, and I go, I think that's the guy. And he's in the restaurant. He owns the restaurant. He's now the restaurant owner there.
He owns a restaurant?
Yes.
Really?
He's in there.
Wow.
So I'm like, Cindy's like, yeah, that's him. So I ask him, hey, are you that guy? And he doesn't speak great English. Yes, that's me. So I want to talk to him. Naturally, he's the Michael Jordan of mountain climbing. And I want to talk to him. And I go to talk to him, and I'm like, hey, how did you get started in mountain climbing? Oh, it's just what we do.
It's just what we do. How many years has he been doing it?
Since he was probably 12.
Yeah. It's just what we do.
It's just what we do. It's what we do for work. The other thing in it was he said, I'm like, what was the most dangerous climb you ever had? And he said, all mountains are dangerous. Yeah. That's about all I could get out of him.
So he wasn't much of a talker.
No. So unassuming. Didn't want to tell stories. Wasn't interested in boasting or bragging about what he did.
Yeah.
But he is literally a mountain climbing hero. He's a superhero.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, Cindy, we leave out. We went back to eat another time, and Cindy's like, you could be like his agent. You could sit in here and sell pictures and stuff of him and just tell the story.
Yeah.
I said, I could do it every day, all day, because it's incredible.
Yeah.
But so unassuming. And I spoke to a group of teachers, and I think this is a lot for everybody. I mean, if everybody out there listening to this that hears this needs to understand this. As a person that God created, everybody on the planet has value and something to offer.
Yes.
But I think all too often we keep all of that hidden, and we're like that guy. We undersell ourselves.
Yeah.
And we undersell the God that we serve.
Yeah.
We undersell all of the things that are the great things in our lives. And I'm not talking about bragging and that type thing, but I'm talking about realizing who you are. He does not know who he is. Now,
right.
He 100% knows he's a mountain climber and he's a bad cat on a mountain.
Yeah, for sure.
But for people like me, he doesn't know. He doesn't realize that I'm sitting there literally like I'm looking at Michael Jordan.
Right. And I mean, I got to be honest with you. If I were in his shoes, like that would be how I started every conversation. Like it'd be like he would say something like, "Look," someone would be like, "Oh, look at that building over there." I'd be like, "Yeah, that building's pretty tall. You know what's taller? Mountains." Right? Guess how many of those I've climbed?
Yeah, yeah. Guess what I have? Yeah. Guess what I've done?
Yeah,
Look what I've done. And I'm not saying be that.
No.
But I am saying hold yourself to that like you're somebody.
Right.
Start carrying yourself like you're somebody.
For sure.
Start growing. Start being more.
Yeah. And I think part of that too is probably just his personality. He probably doesn't seem like the type that wants the attention.
No, he doesn't.
And I get that too, because like there are accomplishments that we've both done.
Yeah.
That we don't just like bring up every single conversation. No. I mean, there are definitely some that, if they work their way into a conversation, we might mention or something.
Yeah.
And with a little grin on our face, But at the same time, it's not like we're looking for those. I will say this: when I was younger, I looked for those opportunities in conversations. I wanted to be a hot shot. I wanted to talk about all the clients I worked with, and this was like for website stuff. Who cares about websites? But that's so cool though that he. So did he own the restaurant too?
Yes.
So how many businesses does he have?
I don't know. He's
That's
got
wild.
the restaurant, and the restaurant closes in like October because nobody's up there because it snowed in.
Yeah.
And then in October, he goes back over to Everest and does trekking tours
Yeah.
with people
That's insane.
for the winter months.
Wow.
And then comes back over here and they get back and start running the restaurant.
Is his family over here in Seattle?
I don't know. He wouldn't talk much.
You couldn't get it out of him.
I was doing all I could do. It was all I could do. He just wanted to know if I wanted more soup. I'm like, we have things to talk about.
And he's like, nope, here's some more soup. Here's some
I've got to
soup.
go wait on these people, Steve.
That's wild.
And then I wanted a picture, and he's like, I'm working. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
But we're still getting a picture.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you this. Looking at Rainier and realizing just how massive it is, what were your thoughts looking at that and just saying, like, this is something I want to do?
It changes my approach. It changes how I'm going to work. It changes. We shifted our workout this morning specifically geared toward that.
Yeah.
It will be an intentional climb for me from this point until sometime around this time next year when we attempt to summit.
Yeah.
I will intentional. I was moving that way anyway, but not the way that I needed to move.
Right.
It is a daunting task for a person from Alabama like Steve Miller. It's a complete shift in mentality just seeing it. So that changes.
But I think that's brilliant because most people, they just go, I want to start a business.
Yeah.
And they just say that.
Yeah.
Or they say, I want to work in this industry. And they just say it.
Right.
None of them come face to face with what that actually is, which is a mountain.
Yeah.
You know, it's a massive mountain. And I think that if people were to get that perspective correct when they say those words, they would either not say them or they would say them quieter.
Yeah.
Or maybe they would just adjust what they're going to do to even start on that path.
Yeah. There have been two things that have really changed my perspective in a lot of things. And there's some of the guys on social media that are trying, like Alex Hermosi, I think does a good job of trying to make you understand this is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But it looks easy because he's done it 2 or 3 times.
Right.
So naturally it looks easier because of the way that he's done it. And then the other thing is I've heard people say that you'll never find anyone doing better than you that talks bad about you.
Yeah.
I understand that statement a lot better now. You know, I used to be critical of different things and different people and how they operate. And, you know, I wouldn't do it that way, or I wouldn't be this, or I wouldn't be that.
Yeah.
The reality is you get into the really, really hard and you build through and grow through.
Yeah.
You look at somebody that's making a real effort and you go, yeah, I need to help. Let me see if I can help and encourage instead of just beat them down.
Yeah.
Because you know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another piece, you know, on the mountainside, you know, just seeing all of that and, you know, all the stuff that goes with it and around it. We stopped at a couple of guide places and talked to them, and they talked about how they and what they did. And I'm like, okay, that's a little bit more comfortable than I thought it would be. But
Yeah.
it's going to be uncomfortable mentally is the biggest thing. Just like what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like what you and I are talking about business-wise.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard. And especially jumping into a completely new arena because, like, just as a side question, like, how many mountains have you climbed?
0.
Yeah. You know, like that's
Yeah.
the point is, like,
Yeah.
when you ask someone how many businesses have you started, and they're like, oh, I've never started a business.
Right.
And so you have to face that mountain. You have to look at it head on and be like, I'm going to climb this. I'm going to slip and slide along the way. I might fall a bit, but I'm going to take every part of it and just figure out how to make it work.
But the biggest thing taken away on the mountain deal, Cindy's like, why don't you just start with a little mountain?
Yeah.
Why don't you find some little mountains and climb some little mountains? We're going to be climbing some things.
Right.
But just finding one over in this area, they're different. I now know that what we would call a mountain over here is like a hill.
Yeah, it's a hill. Yeah. Like, they're beautiful. Like, the Smoky Mountains, they're beautiful, but they're like Smoky Hills, really, compared to anything over in the West.
Yeah.
100%.
It's so different.
And I thought the same thing too, because I'd been to the Smoky Mountains plenty of times. For those of y'all listening, we live in Alabama, southeast United States. So like we have some fun little mountains around here. But I went to Seattle once for a conference, and I remember we were approaching like landing, and the pilot said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a spectacular view to the left. If you want to look out, you will see Mount Rainier." And I'm like, nah. Like we're like, what, 25,000, 30,000 feet up in the air? And I'm like, what is he talking about? And I look over, and there's just a sea of white clouds, and then boom, up in the middle of it is the mountain. And I'm just like I'm in complete awe.
Right.
And then throughout the entire trip, like if we had clear days, clear visibility, we would be in Seattle, and I could lean over in between some buildings and see the mountain just standing there if it was clear visibility.
Oh, yeah.
And just be like, wow, like that's massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So it's going to be a challenge. Talk about a little bit about the event. That's coming up in October.
That's a whole nother mountain.
That's a whole nother mountain. I've never done one.
Me either.
Never put on an event like that.
Can I just preface and say, like, here's how this like started, at least to my knowledge.
Go ahead.
I got a phone call from Steve, and he was like, "We got an event coming up," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, and he started talking about what we're doing, and then I was like, "Okay, do you want me to speak?" And he's like, "Yeah." and so now we have an event going on, and the fun thing is we were going to do it somewhere, like, I guess at a smaller mountain here.
Yeah.
And then Steve shifted gears on me and was like, no, we're going to do it. Where are we doing it?
We're doing it in Nashville at the Greatness Factory.
Yeah, we are.
And it's an unbelievable venue. So we're going to be able to take and do that event on a level that we tie not only what's happening, with the speakers there, but just the exposure to that level of facility.
Yeah.
And I think you said it when we went to do the podcast with Coach Burt there, that just walking in and being in there changed.
Oh, it changed everything. It was like, because it was like a new arena, really. I thought that I was on a different level than certain people. And it was like, we're not on the same playing field. It's a different arena. I watched a show recently, and someone said something like this: "I'm not even in the same arena as them. I am a tire shop next to them, and they're like a football stadium, or something."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't get the tire shop part, but it's just like I'm not even in the same area. And
Right.
But I think the cool part about that is like you can look at it and go, wow, I'm nowhere close to that. But you can look at it like you've looked at it, and like now I'm looking at it, which is, wow, that's where I want to be one day.
Yeah, that's what we can do. That's what's available, and that's what we're wanting to expose people to at the event.
Yep.
I mean, we're wanting to literally open your mind, ignite something different in you, expose you to something that's completely different than you've ever been a part of. Coach Burt's going to open the event up with his signature pray drive. And how to pursue, how to get after, how to change your mentality from just getting up and going through the day to I'm going to pursue something and see it through to its logical conclusion. I'm not going to quit in it. I'm going to continue until there's nothing else to squeeze out of it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said earlier, Kevin Elko's coming.
Yeah.
And he is legit. Your mind will completely shift. Mm-hmm. By the end of what he talks about.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, you've got guys like Randy Anderson.
Hey.
I've got Billy Hopkins coming to talk on the winner's mindset and how to overcome obstacles and get to where you need to be. I've got a gentleman named Joseph Peck coming. Joseph is going to talk about how to work and achieve and pursue and maintain your family.
Yeah.
Somebody said something about needing some of that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
And Randy Lowry that owns IMG Mortgage that started that from the ground that is now building a Mount Rainier.
Wow.
Like he is not just no longer Randy down here on the bottom. Yeah. I mean, he has laid the foundation and starting to put the rocks on top of each other to build a literal mountain of a mortgage company.
That's incredible.
And then Jana Creel's going to be there talking about proximity to power.
Which she knows a lot about.
She does. And how you take Like we're going to, there'll be people that see this podcast that are wanting to start podcasts, that are wanting to start businesses, that are wanting to get into coaching, all of those type things. Well, you've got to be able to talk to some people. It helps to have people like Eli Gold on your podcast, who's about to be on ours.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Fun fact. Those things don't just magically happen.
Yeah.
Coach Burt didn't magically show up on our podcast.
Right.
It wasn't just, hey, Coach Burt, how are you?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of how you position yourself within organizations and within circles so that you can get to the power piece of that, to leverage that, not only for your benefit, but the benefit of the people that are around you. It's going to be an incredible event.
It is. And by the time y'all are watching this, we're going to have links down below
Yes,
to
we
where
are.
you can get more information about it and purchase a ticket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be great. And we'll be talking more and more about it. I think we're going to maybe even do some fun little, we should do some fun little promos. And
Oh,
we should
yeah, we will.
you know, I think it'll be fun. So we got a lot of things planned, a lot of awesome stuff, but also a lot of mountains to climb. So, you know, let's get our gear on and let's go forward and let's do it.
Yeah, and I just want to encourage everybody to think bigger today. If anything's come out of the last 3 weeks for me, it's my mind's been exposed to things that I've never thought I would see. And I'm opening up to new opportunities and new ideas, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
But it's not comfortable.
No, not at all.
It's tough.
It is tough. But you know what? You'll just keep going. Just keep going and keep grinding, and you got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching Growth Over Comfort. We will see you guys next week.